Last month, I made over 100 animations in just 7 days. That includes everything, starting from storyboard all the way to final product. And as everyone knows, animation takes a long time. Look at these 3 animations. This one took 4 years to create. This one, 3 hours. And mine. So to fix that, I challenged myself to do nothing but animate for the next 7 days. That meant no going outside, no video games, just Blender. Because by the end of the week, no matter how good or bad the animation was, I had to upload. Here's how I did it. For this project, I wanted to make a guide on how I'd learn Blender if I started all over again. A 35-minute video with nearly 200 animated shots. In order to get this insane amount of work done, I needed a plan. Because with 168 hours available to me, that means I'd have to make 1 and a bit animations per hour. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about sleep? Oh, shit. Before I even touched Blender, I built out my most valuable resource, the shot list. This is a stupidly simple sentence that tells me exactly what I need to animate for each shot. Usually, this would be done with a fancy spreadsheet like this, but really, I just put markers in my editing software and use that as a shot list. Yeah, don't do this. But with a decent amount of the shot list complete, I decided to dive headfirst into animation. Like most artists, it's impossible for me to start a project while looking at a blank canvas. So to get the ball rolling, I imported 3 assets: a blueprint texture, a nostalgic Wii cursor, and a handsome dog. The whole premise of this video was to have the cursor be the main animated character. And to make it fun, I figured, hey, let's make the whole thing be interactive. This was a mistake. I didn't know it at the time, but as the shots became more and more complex, this meant I would not only have to animate the cursor, but all of this. Did I mention this was going to be animated? I started strong by tackling the easiest shots. These were things like titles, steps, levels, basically anything that represented progression throughout the guide. This was really my first time trying to find the visual style for the animation, and honestly, it was going great. Scaling objects, animating the Wii cursor, and even adding in some 2D animation with the grease pencil. Nothing here is particularly complex. It's just simple keyframes with a bit of fine-tuning in the graph editor to make it aesthetically pleasing. But in order to reach my goal by the end of the week, I needed to be making roughly 28 animations per day. So with 3 hours already gone, I had completed a total of 5 animations. This was pretty much on pace, but like usual, I got ahead of myself and dove straight into this complex animation. And this came with a lot of challenges. I needed to figure out how to make a scrolling leaderboard with transparency for each object. Luckily, I remembered a technique which does all of this seamlessly. It's called proximity, and I've used it with animations like this to create some awesome effects. To make this, it's actually just an empty object. You plug it into the material's transparency value, and this now controls what you can and can't see. So all I had to do was apply this setup to every object and animate them zipping through to create this effect. Pretty neat. Only problem is that took over an hour to create. I was burning time because I overindulged with one particular animation. So I went back to the simple stuff, finishing out essentially every title sequence. And before I knew it, I was on to day number 2. The plan for today was simple: build out my shot list and animate. Most of the simple stuff was complete, so I'd moved on to bigger, more advanced shots. For example, one concept revolved around a bucket with multiple levels, video games, and puzzle pieces, all of which I had to animate interacting in some way. A lot of the charm of all these animations comes from its interactive nature, and the effect is really not that difficult to pull off. Say you want to pick up this cube and place it here. All you need to do is implement geo-switching. This is quite simply switching geometry. So when the Wii cursor grabs the cube, I'm animating the visibility on and off and switching to another cube. The effect it makes is pretty awesome. But after nearly 2 whole days of animating and roughly 60 shots being complete, I realized something terrible. I was basically doing the same animation hundreds of times. Here is an unedited look at how long it takes to animate a simple pop-in effect for one object. That was like 15 seconds, and I got really good at it. Okay, I'm gonna do a speedrun challenge. Let's just see how long it takes me to animate this pretty easy shot. And while Smeaf's speedrunning this animation, God, I hope I don't screw anything up, I wanna tell you about Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, AI, and even astrophysics. This is literally one of the simplest shots in the entire video. So if it takes me more than 10 minutes to complete this, I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something I'll probably regret. Let's put it that way. Brilliant is the most effective way to learn. Each lesson is designed kind of like a video game, which means you can have fun while learning on the go and build daily habits with streaks and leaderboards. I've animated the Wii cursor, and that was about 3 minutes. So that's embarrassing enough, honestly. It's literally 4 keyframes. I use Brilliant for things like general maths, but there's also lessons on probability, which probably would have helped me calculate the chances of finishing this 7-day challenge. I'm pretty much doing the exact same animations here, just slightly altered, and that is done. Just under 10 minutes. I mean, let's render this sucker out. Blender just crashed on me. Why does this always happen? Try Brilliant today with a free 30-day trial. Visit brilliant.org/Smeaf or click the link below. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Click that link, and thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Okay, that was honestly pretty quick, but I mean, it still took way too long. Just under 10 minutes. Clearly, something in my workflow needed to change. But with my sleep-deprived mind, I couldn't even think about a solution at this point in time. I honestly don't know how I'm going to get this finished in time. Until I messaged Noggy. In Blender, whenever you create an animation, it's stored as an action. You can then technically apply this action to anything. This is what's known as a preset, and it saved me so much time, you have no idea. So with the help of Noggy and a few hours of tech support, all the presets were working and attached to this bow. And I was pumping through the shots. My workflow at this point was set in stone. Wake up, coffee, shot list, animate. And with my trusty presets, I was making great time. But there was one problem I kept running into. Visibility. You may have noticed the Wii cursor has multiple different states. Open, closed, and pointing. To animate any one of these actions, I need to go into this menu, set a keyframe on the open hand, set a keyframe on the closed hand, and rinse and repeat. This is the exact same concept as geo-switching, but I was doing this in almost every shot manually, and it was frustratingly annoying and time-consuming. So to fix that, I tried a procedural approach with geometry nodes. Now, I'm not an expert, but with literally 4 nodes, I was able to make the most simple switcher, and this immediately made every single shot faster and easier to animate. This day was unique because for some reason, I completely forgot to check my shot list. I just jumped straight into animation. This was bad for multiple reasons. Reason 1, I didn't have a plan or structure, so the choices I was making were costing me time. And reason 2, it meant anything that came to mind, I would just do them, leading to situations like this. Do you see the problem? I've now invented a completely new interactive asset for basically no reason. This meant I had to build another character switcher and implement this 2D cutout in almost every shot moving forward. Remember, no matter how these animations turn out, or if I even complete them all, This is going to be uploaded to my channel on day 7. Some shots were simple pop-in animations. Others were intense animated dioramas of me playing video games. I was all over the place. But one thing that kept me on track and pushed me through all these shots was done using a bit of a hack. Let me show you what I mean. Some areas of the video had 50+ seconds of dialogue that I had to animate multiple shots for. This meant 5 different scenes with individual settings, objects, voiceovers. It was a lot of extra work that very quickly added up to a bunch of wasted time. Instead of doing that, I cheated and put all the shots into one scene. This is known as a oneer in film, but for me, it's a massive time saver. Instead of wasting time setting everything up for each individual shot, I can stay in the zone, going from one animation to the next, all in a single camera movement. In fact, this worked so well that I started implementing it pretty much everywhere, and this decision alone probably saved the whole challenge. By this point, my Blender scene was a complete mess. With loose organization and this minefield of scattered lights and geometry, it pretty much resembled my mental state. Not only that, but each shot was getting more and more complex. So the stuff I was creating could no longer cut it. If I modeled everything by hand, I'd never get the challenge done in time. I needed a quick fix, and this came in the form of kit bashing. This is the art of smashing together multiple different assets into one scene. Modeling this alleyway, classroom, and office would have taken me hours. But with a few assets kit bashed together using the free add-on Blender kit, I was done in literally 10 minutes, and it gave me the freedom to solely focus on animation. These next few days are pretty foggy for me. I remember basically staying awake for 2 days straight, and honestly, it was kind of miserable. But the problem I was facing wasn't technical. It wasn't difficult. It was time. And I was running out of it. On day 7, I finished this challenge with a total of 168 animations. The animation runtime was 16 minutes and 45 seconds. This is genuinely the most amount of work I've ever put out in such a small time frame. I was physically, mentally, and creatively burnt out after this project. Not to mention massively sleep deprived. But although I did technically fail the challenge, I still learned a ton during this week. This video is one of my favorite resources on my channel. And if you'd like to learn Blender, or maybe you just want to see all the animations in one place, you'll want to watch this video right here.